one of HGTV's most beloved shows, a celebration of color, creativity, and compassion. Bargain Block, starring Keith Bynum and Evan Thomas, wasn't just about renovating homes. It was about reviving hope in the city of Detroit. But in mid-2025, fans were stunned when news broke that HGTV had canceled the show after 4 successful seasons. For many, it didn't make sense. Ratings were strong, the hosts were adored, and their work had transformed neighborhoods. So why would HGTV pull the plug on one of its most inspiring shows? Who was really to blame for the end of Bargain Block? Keith and Evan weren't born into fame or fortune. They met in Colorado over a decade ago, bonding over a shared passion for design and rebuilding forgotten spaces. In 2017, they took a leap of faith and moved to Detroit, a city filled with potential, history, and hundreds of neglected houses waiting for someone to love them again. Their idea was simple but powerful: buy abandoned homes, restore them with care, and sell them at prices local families could actually afford. It wasn't about profit, it was about purpose. Their bold creativity caught HGTV's attention, and Bargain Block premiered in 2021. The premise was fresh, authentic, and heartfelt. Each episode followed Keith's imaginative, often whimsical designs and Evan's precise craftsmanship as they rebuilt Detroit one house at a time. Viewers fell in love, not just with the homes, but with the couple themselves. They represented kindness, inclusivity, and determination in an industry often dominated by corporate polish. For 4 seasons, Bargain Block became a bright spot in HGTV's lineup, a show that proved design could have heart. That's why the cancellation announcement in June 2025 felt like a shockwave. Keith Bynum took to Instagram on June 22nd, revealing that HGTV had decided not to renew the series for a 5th season, despite it having already been approved months earlier. In his post, Keith expressed disbelief, saying the show had been greenlit for Season 5 in December 2024. But the network suddenly reversed the decision in February 2025 without explanation. It wasn't the kind of statement fans expected from someone known for optimism. His message quickly went viral. Thousands of comments poured in, with viewers asking why HGTV would cancel a show that brought so much good to the community. Keith followed up, saying he was deeply disappointed by the decision, and that television can be full of some of the worst people I've ever encountered. Those words drew attention, far beyond HGTV circles, sparking headlines and debates about what had really gone wrong behind the scenes. As the dust settled, the first question became obvious. Was this HGTV's fault, or was something bigger happening in the background? According to industry insiders, Bargain Block was one of several HGTV shows canceled in 2025, alongside other shows. The network was reportedly tightening budgets and shifting strategies after years of pandemic-era inflation. Renovation shows, once HGTV's bread and butter, had become increasingly expensive to produce. Building materials cost more, local regulations slowed filming, and housing markets fluctuated wildly. Each episode of Bargain Block required extensive labor, permits, and weeks of filming, far more costly than studio-based design shows. Sources told Cinema Blend that HGTV was scaling back large-scale renovation productions in favor of cheaper, quicker formats. From a corporate standpoint, it was business logic. But to fans, and to Keith and Evan, it felt deeply personal. They weren't just building sets for entertainment, they were rebuilding a city. And now, the network's decision risked undoing years of community goodwill. Yet, some began to suspect that money wasn't the only factor. Bargain Block stood out on HGTV for more than just its Detroit setting. Keith and Evan are an openly gay couple, and their presence represented a step forward in visibility and diversity for the network. When the cancellation was announced, many fans flooded comment sections questioning whether representation played an unspoken role. Social media lit up with posts suggesting that HGTV was quietly phasing out shows led by diverse or non-traditional hosts. Meanwhile, Keith and Evan's emotional reaction hinted that communication between them and the network had broken down long before the announcement. According to their later interviews, they had already started pre-production for Season 5, scouting homes, arranging permits, and planning new storylines, when they were suddenly told it was over. "It felt like the rug was pulled out from under us," Keith said in one conversation. "We had a team, contracts, everything ready," and then silence. That silence hurt not just them, but their small crew of local workers, designers, and tradespeople who had come to depend on Bargain Block projects for steady income. The cancellation meant dozens of Detroit contractors were left in limbo, another ripple effect rarely seen by audiences. It also meant fewer homes being restored in neighborhoods that had started to thrive again because of the show's exposure. Behind the scenes, however, the story may be more complicated than a single villain. Industry insiders explained that the network's overall schedule was under restructuring after its merger with Warner Bros. Discovery, which caused multiple budget resets and reshuffling of priorities. HGTV executives reportedly faced mandates to trim costs and consolidate production under fewer suppliers. Bargain Block's high cost per episode, due to real home purchases and full renovations filmed start to finish, made it vulnerable. It wasn't about ratings, which were solid, but about dollars and logistics. Still, Keith and Evan's frustrations were valid. After years of dedication, they felt blindsided, not consulted, not thanked, and not given closure. To them, the real culprit wasn't just HGTV or one executive decision. It was the system that treats creativity as disposable once profits dip. For them, this wasn't just a show. It was a movement to restore pride in Detroit and inspire affordable housing solutions across America. Even so, the duo didn't stay silent for long. In follow-up interviews with People magazine, they expressed both disappointment and gratitude. They thanked fans for the outpouring of love and said they would continue their mission independently through their company, 9 Design Plus Homes. They also hinted that new projects might already be in development. Keith said, "We're not asking for pity. We're just ready for what's next." So, who is really to blame for Bargain Block's cancellation? The answer isn't simple. On one hand, the business realities of television, budgets, mergers, and rating strategies played a major role. On the other hand, the lack of communication, the emotional toll on the hosts, and the possible undervaluing of diverse talent exposed deeper issues within the entertainment industry. It's not about one villain, but about a system that too often forgets the human stories behind the numbers. Today, Keith and Evan remain in Detroit, still designing, still building, and still believing in their mission. Their love for the city hasn't faded, and neither has their bond. Bargain Block may be gone from HGTV, but the spirit behind it lives on. In every restored home, every family given a fresh start, and every viewer reminded that change begins with vision and heart. In the end, maybe the real culprit isn't a person or a corporation. Maybe it's the nature of television itself, where creativity meets commerce, and sometimes art loses to the algorithm. But as long as Keith Bynum and Evan Thomas keep rebuilding, their story isn't canceled. It's simply moving to a new chapter. If you loved Bargain Block or believe in second chances, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because this isn't the end of Keith and Evan's story, it's just the beginning of something even bigger. A quick pause. If you want to stay updated on all things HGTV, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video if you're enjoying it so far, and drop a comment to share your thoughts. All right, let's jump back in.